Hey, this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and the jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at the Cold Steel Recon Scout. These are my first impressions on how I think it will fare out in the tropical jungle. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. Thanks a lot. I got this knife because I've always been interested in a Bowie style knife and to see how it will fare in the tropical jungle. I also wanted a premium steel, in this case CPM 3V. Now that's a really tough steel with great edge retention. Now it doesn't have corrosion resistance, but I've no problem with that because most of my survival knives are high carbon steel and I've maintained them and taken care of them in this humid and wet climate. So absolutely I think I have no problem with this. I've been looking at the Recon Scout for some time. It's a smaller version than the Trailmaster, so I like the size. I find the Trailmaster just a bit too big, and I like the look of it as well. Now, it's not a cheap knife. It goes anywhere from $250 to $275 US, but I saw it on sale for $205 US, so I jumped at it to get it, and I think it's a good deal for the chunk of metal you get and this particular knife, but I do admit it's still an expensive knife. All right, let's have a look at the packaging. Really attractive cold steel packaging with the blue against the black, and there you have the knife. Now this version is made in Taiwan. The original first run of 3V knives were made in Italy, and that's the new logo as well. That's the Secure X sheath that it comes in with. So just some quick specs. The blade length is 7.5 inches. The handle is 5 inches, so overall length 12.5 inches. All right, let's open this up. So it actually came separate in the bubble wrap and that knife protector, but I took it out because I have used it and I've had my first impressions. This is the Secure X sheath. Just has this retention strap, nylon over here. Now, a lot of the cold steel knives come in this Secure X sheath. I generally have no problem with it. I do prefer a Kydex sheath. This one seems actually a bit loose because you can see it's not as secure, it just drops out. But it works. And you can easily put this on your belt. I vertically carried it. Just have to get used to opening up that retention buckle, and then when you put back the knife, it's kind of fumbling because I'm used to Kydex sheaths, so I just slot it in. Here I had to kind of fumble to fit it back in, but I believe it's just kind of getting used to it. Other than the sheath, has absolutely no problems for me. I think it works well. Just take note when you remove the knives, especially for these Secure X sheaths, but in general, even for leather knives, leather sheaths, just pull it out so that the back of the blade rides or slides against the sheath. That's just so you don't dull the edge of your blade. Alright, so here we have the Recon Scout. I think it's a very elegant knife, almost minimalistic in terms of its design. It's a full flat grind, very clean lines, and it is a large knife. In fact, I think this is my largest fixed blade, not counting machetes and parangs. But just for a knife itself, 7.5 inches, it's pretty big. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't feel big. In fact, it feels very nimble and it feels light. I'm not sure what's the weight. Let's just put the weight in, and let's take that out. So it's 425 grams. Now compare that with the Berkimo. So the Berkimo, which is a tops knife, is only about 280 grams. But in the hand, when I compare these knives, I don't feel the weight difference, and that's because of the balance. Now obviously I can feel there's a slight weight difference, but not as much as I would expect, which is really surprising. So that was the first thing that caught me off guard with this knife, was how light it felt in the hand and the ability to move it around. Now I guess it's designed as kind of a combat knife as well because of the full guard, and I can see why that would be useful. I have no intention to use this for combat, maybe self defense if I go into the jungle and I see a very dangerous squirrel that I need to protect myself from. Other than that, we're looking at more bushcraft style work, and it's a huge knife for bushcraft. But again, I bought this just to try it out, just to see how a large a knife like that would work. Now it's really thick. Now the blade stock is 7 millimeters thick, and Yeah, so that's really thick. Again, I think this is even thicker than my parangs and machetes. But it does have kind of a distal taper. And there's this false edge over here, about 3.5 inches. It's not super sharp, as in you can't cut paper with it, but it is sharp. And if you have to press it down for fine work, you definitely will feel it. And I guess if you do any kind of defensive or offensive fighting, you could do back cuts, and that would hurt someone as well. It's got a really aggressive, strong tip. Overall, you know, I think it's just a great, well-built knife. Handle is this Creighton handle, which is kind of a rubber handle, similar to like the SRK. No problem with that. It feels comfortable. Although in my personal experience, if I do a lot of hard use with this sort of design will give me blisters. So I would use gloves for very hard use. But generally, for comfort, no problem. Can almost choke up a bit. Kind of a ricasso over here. My hands are small to medium, so I can fit a finger here quite safely. Now the thing is, there is a top guard here, right? So that kind of gets in the way if you're trying to do more fine work. But generally feels, you know, good in hand and overall very nimble. So if you're thinking of getting, you know, a large knife and you thought that, you know, something like this, 7.5 inches of a blade would be way too big for you, you could consider this knife just because of just the balance and how it feels. But let's take this out into the field. We're going to try a few things, and then I'll share my thoughts when we get back. So we're back in the studio. The knife has been cleaned up. And my first impression, because I didn't spend much time with this, only spent an afternoon working with this, but I would say I had fun with it, right? It is a knife, and I've talked about this before. When it comes to new knives, it does take some time for me to break into the knives and get used to them. But in terms of battening, absolutely no problem. Chopping, no problem. Everything I expected, you know, no problem. I guess the final work is something that I have to get used to in terms of control. Because of course with a smaller blade, it's easy to manipulate the blade and get all the finer work done. With this, now this flat grind and just the edge absolutely works in terms of finer work. But the control is something you have to get used to, and that is something I know I will have to work with. So if you're not used to big knives and working with big knives, even though I do fine work with parangs, again, every knife is different, the balance point is different, the grip is different, and how you can choke up is going to be different. So you might need some time to get used to that. This false edge, as I said, not razor sharp, but definitely sharp enough, for example, to debark wood or to strike a ferro rod to get the sparks going. So as kind of a survival knife, this seems really good. For just light bushcrafting tasks, this would be overkill. But if you like big knives, why not? But as kind of a survival knife where you want one knife to be able to chop, do fine work, or you do not want to carry multiple tools just for whatever reason, maybe you aren't going out bushcrafting, you're going out hiking, but you want a confident knife with you, yeah, this would definitely fit well and work well. Well, those are my first impressions on the Recon Scout from Cold Steel. I think as a jungle knife, this probably would work out quite well. I'm going to be using it more in the months just to try it out, and I'll probably give an update in terms of a long-term use. But let me know your thoughts if you have this knife in a CPM 3V. What do you think of the edge retention? How tough do you think it is? And do you think it's too big for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.